Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Campaign Show. I am your host, Patrick Howley, and today, the Israeli politicians are dominating the news cycle in Washington, D.C. Why? Because it's a day of the week. But today especially, the Israeli president, which is different than the prime minister. The prime minister is Netanyahu, and then there's also a president named Isaac Herzog, and he met with Biden today, and he's supposed to give a speech to Congress tomorrow. So everybody's talking about Israel, of course, as usual in American politics, because that is the issue that a whole lot of donors really care about. You know, kind of weird, isn't it? Don't you think that people in politics would want to care a little bit more about America, what's going on here? But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of donations that happen, and then, I just really like Israel, everything about Israel. You know, when I see all of this content of politicians groveling to a foreign power, it's concerning, obviously. It's been concerning for many years. It was concerning during the USS Liberty. It continues to be concerning. We're going to discuss it. In general, with politics, I mean, can you relate to this guy's mood in Portland? He is living his best life. Well, the person that America has representing this failing strip mall labor colony, as it meets with the Israeli president, and many people feel that Israel is essentially a colonizer of America with the amount of power that they have in the deep state. Here is Joe Biden. I can't really understand what he's saying, which is pretty typical, but it looks like he's falling asleep.
And we brought Israelis and Palestinians together at a political level, and Akwa and Paul Schramm. Yes. And as I affirmed the Prime Minister.
I think he might actually be speaking Hebrew in that clip. I can't exactly tell what that was. But I like how the Israeli president was like, yeah, as though he understands it. I mean, if Israel didn't have any respect for the American colony before, I don't think that Joe Biden is really going to help get us any concessions from the Israelis or from Netanyahu or from Likud. Obviously, as they become more and more powerful all the time. But President Donald Trump is running. Obviously, President Donald Trump also a supporter of Israel, but he remembers when Bibi Netanyahu betrayed him after the election, during the election overtime, when it was pretty obvious that we had an extremely disputed election, and then Bibi Netanyahu weighs in and congratulates Biden on his so-called win, right? Yeah. I think Trump remembers that. But then again, you have to remember Jared Kushner was basically running the White House under Trump. Trump, who I like very much. And also Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is in the race and has made some pretty strong statements about, some of his views and attracted a whole lot of controversy recently from people who support Israel. And, an apology doesn't really work with that particular lobby. They don't seem to accept apologies too much. But Trump is soaring in the polls. We got to give him some credit for soaring in the polls, for having the people behind him over on the Republican side, and also having some black supporters. Let's take a look.
Let's fuck with Trump or Biden or none of them.
I fuck with Trump.
You guys like Trump?
Even though the media was trying to do all that other shit. Trump was on some real shit.
I vote for Trump.
Nigga, our gas was $3 with Trump. Nigga, now it's $6 and shit.
Have you guys?
Oh, you love to see it. Well, speaking of Israel, I have a particular message that I'd like to send to the American politicians and to every single member of Congress, and I hope they listen. Some are better than others. Pretty much the only congressman I say good things about on this show is Matt Gaetz at this point. Lauren Boebert also did an excellent job standing up to Kevin McCarthy when they, very peacefully took Congress by hostage for 4 days by refusing to confirm Kevin McCarthy before finally he won. Matt Gaetz fought that to the end. There were some other great ones, Byron Donalds, Paul Gosar. Unfortunately, Chip Roy caved very early in that process. But, in Congress, I want somebody to ask tomorrow or to make a statement tomorrow or to somehow bring it to the attention of the Israeli regime that the American people are not happy with Israel spying on the United States. And this is what I would like Matt Gaetz or another congressman to bring up tomorrow when Isaac Herzog speaks. Okay? I have a statement that I obtained from an Army intelligence analyst that I have published on websites, and I want to read it to you here on the show because it is so important. Cody R., he is a former Army intelligence analyst. He served in Afghanistan, and he told me this, quote, Israeli government has a mistrust in everyone, including its allies. I was in the intelligence field for several years. It's a very delicate and difficult business. In early 2012, I did my basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. After finishing basic combat training, I was sent to Fort Huachuca, Arizona, to begin training as an intelligence analyst, 35F at the time. Every Army base has a town next to it. This one is called Sierra Vista, and it has a crappy little mall. Well, after enough time in training, you're allowed to leave the base during the weekend as long as you're back for evening and Sunday counts. Lots of soldiers hang out at the mall. All malls have those little kiosks that sell sunglasses and cheap jewelry and stuff. Listen to this. Well, at some point, a laptop kiosk became a thing at the Sierra Vista Mall. These laptops were the real expensive for the time, somewhere between $800 and $1,700. These laptops were, however, being sold at deals to service members for hundreds of dollars less the retail value. It's pretty easy to pick out service members, the hair, glasses, tan lines on wrist, and age. Well, at some point, it became knowledge on base about these laptops, and that set off some bells and whistles in senior leadership. CID was dispatched to investigate. What did they find? These computer kiosk salesmen were Mossad operatives. Mossad is the intelligence agency in Israel. And the laptops had software and hardware installed to spy. You could reinstall the software, but the chips hardwired reinstalled and still gave them access to the keyboard, microphone, webcam, and screen. Think about it. Soldiers often take their laptops on deployment, and OPSEC is often preached but isn't always followed. There is the Israel I know. And I would like Matt Gaetz to talk about that. I would like someone in Congress to talk about that. Are we really going to have a country in which not a single major politician is willing to call out the Zionist Israeli influence on American politics, AIPAC's influence on American politics? Is there not a single one? Is that what we've come to? Well, over there on the Democrat side, you've got a handful of them. You have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, you have Rashida Tlaib, you have Ilhan Omar. I'm not endorsing them, obviously. They're very problematic people who are not on my side. At the same time, those are pretty much the only politicians I can think of who are allowed to criticize Israel at all. And of course, the right then uses them as sort of a controlled opposition. Can you believe these leftist radicals? The Jihad Squad doesn't stand with our greatest ally. What a shame. And then, raise money, give more money to Ronna Romney, give more money to the RNC and Kevin McCarthy so they can screw you and all the Republicans out of another election that they intentionally threw. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely unbelievable. But you've got, it's so insidious in all walks of politics. You've got now Ron DeSantis investigating Morningstar for possibly violating the anti-BDS law. In Florida, the anti-BDS law is anti-boycott, divestment, and sanctions. It's a movement that tries to boycott Israel in order to help the Palestinians. Not on Ron DeSantis' watch.
One of the things that they're doing, though, is they're specifically targeting Israel. And so we made changes to our law to recognize that. And so today, I'm happy to make, and this law just took effect at the beginning of July, I'm happy to announce for everybody that Florida has formally instituted an investigation against Morningstar for violations of our anti-BDS law. We're not letting them target Israel and get away with it. We're using our tools to fight back.
Ron DeSantis, of course, who went over to Israel to sign a bill for people in Florida. How is that even legal? How is it even legal to go to a foreign country and sign a bill that affects the people in your state and the United States of America? It's ridiculous. It is colonization. The woke left and people who push the 1619 Project, they always want to talk about colonization, right? But they leave out a very important detail that America was born out of anti-colonialism. America is not England. America is not France. America has become a colonial power in this subversive state in modern times. But originally, America fought an entire war to stop the colonization of their country. They went to war, the people, the citizens, the civilians went to war against Britain in order to throw off colonization. So people don't really talk on the left about the anti-colonial sentiment that birthed this country, or the anti-colonial sentiment in other places. For instance, my ancestral homeland of Ireland, which also was colonized by the British and also which struggled for many centuries to shake off colonization. So you want to talk about colonization? How about we talk about the fact that many people believe Israel colonizes the United States. Certainly they are involved and very influential. You could say perhaps that the World Economic Forum and the financial elites and the oligarchs and the people who print the money are colonizing the entire world. And obviously China has colonized us as well, considering the massive amount of land, including farmland, that they have in the United States, which allows them to control our food supply. So if Biden does blunder us into a war in China, China could basically cut the food supply like that. It's, that's an exaggeration a little bit, but they could definitely make it very, very, very more difficult to eat food, to survive. America has surrendered to all kinds of colonization over the years. Okay? And we don't like that. We don't want that. We don't want to be colonized. And we don't want idiots in Congress who are constantly embarrassing us with their little meltdowns and their complete and utter stupidity. Oh, here's Democrat Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro.
Is there no limit on how low you will go to break the faith and trust which this committee is supposed to operate, all to placate the whims of some who, I might add, in looking historically, do not ever vote for appropriations bills? You are negotiating with terrorists.
Terrorists. Meanwhile, some news breaking today. According to Insider Paper, the United States has blacklisted 4 Israeli-controlled firms whose spyware has allegedly been used by governments to hack the phones of opponents. You can look at this article on insiderpaper.com. And this is pretty timely, isn't it? Pretty relevant, I would say. And so, where are the Republican congressmen? Where are the Democrat congressmen? Is it going to take an AOC or an Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib to go before the American people and say, hey, we're a little bit tired of this, Israeli influence on America? But they're not really talking about the Israeli influence on America. They talk about the plight of the Palestinians. They talk about how Palestine is occupied, right? And they come to it through that angle. And obviously, all over the world, a lot of people agree with them on that issue. But I want to hear somebody talk about Israel and their influence on the United States of America and the loyalty pledge that politicians are supposed to sign to Israel. And I want to talk about the tentacles of AIPAC going all through politics. And I want to talk about the witch hunts that anybody in politics gets subjected to if they criticize the Zionist Israeli regime, which is a foreign country. Ye experienced it when he spoke out. All kinds of people have experienced it, including me, by the way. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to see it. And I'm not hopeful that any politicians are going to step up and do that. Even the best politicians that we have in America, mostly, will talk about globalists. They'll talk about the deep state now, thanks to all of our efforts over the years in the truth movement. But they're still not going to shake the third rail. They're still not going to talk about Israel. They're still not going to talk about how Kevin McCarthy wears a GIMP mask on his face. Essentially, he wears like a coronavirus mask recently, and he went over to Israel basically to get his orders from the Israelis. Oh, also the Democrat House delegation goes over to Israel, gets their marching orders. So if Israel is so, powerful on both sides, what really is the conflict in American politics? Is it really about right versus left? If it really was about right versus left, do you think that's what they would tell you? Or do they, or are there globalist controllers, not only from Israel, certainly from China and World Economic Forum and elsewhere? And keep in mind, Klaus Schwab's, one of his top advisors at the World Economic Forum is an Israeli guy named Yuval Noah Harari, who explained his view that he thinks human beings are hackable animals now and that free will is a thing of the past. We are not animals. We are not cattle. We are not the subjects of any foreign country. In my ideal form of America, but this is not my ideal form of America, actually. It's pretty much the exact opposite, which is why I do this show. It's a catharsis, it's cathartic to do this show, to talk about these issues. And hopefully you will learn from me and learn a little bit more about politics, because I've been in this game for a very long time. I was a reporter for Tucker Carlson. If you're just joining the show, you don't know that much about me, you can go to patrickreports.com, see some of my work over the years. I worked for Tucker at the Daily Caller, worked for Breitbart during the 2016 election, and I've started a number of things since then, including the campaign show, which I hope you check out on Instagram twitter.com/the.campaign-show, instagram.com/the.campaign-show, and elsewhere. And if you go to my personal website, patrickreports.com, you can send me a message. And, oh my goodness, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, now let me say, I like Milo Yiannopoulos. I've known him for a long time, and I think he's a brilliant guy in just my own interactions with him. And I know he works for MTG, but, you know, MTG shilled for Kevin McCarthy. You know, when we were putting it all on the line to try to, you know, influence these congressmen to stand strong, and they stood strong for 4 days. Matt Gaetz fought all the way to the end. But it was Marjorie Taylor Greene who was really, really flacking for Kevin McCarthy and even got up in Lauren Boebert's face and, you know, wanted Kevin McCarthy to be the speaker. And Kevin McCarthy as a speaker, and this is just a fact, is a terrible speaker who the Democrats are not afraid of at all. The Democrats are very happy that Kevin McCarthy is the speaker because he's a globalist stooge. He's a corporatist globalist stooge. And in no way, shape, or form is he holding Joe Biden accountable while a criminal regime runs our country into the ground. They've got this James Comer guy out there going, we got him, Hunter, we got him. All right, great. You know, I've been reporting on Hunter Biden for years. You know, I was actually at Breitbart. I co-authored an article with Jordan Schachtel, who's a good investigative journalist back in the day, in which we proved, we reported that there was an Ashley Madison account registered to Hunter Biden. Ashley Madison is a website where married men would try to get affairs on their wives. And this is so funny, people representing Hunter Biden said that probably America's enemies set up a fake Ashley Madison account for Hunter Biden so that, to make him look bad or whatever. And they were implying that the Russians did it. So Russia. And then what Jordan and I did was we geolocated the Ashley Madison account when it was in use to Georgetown University, where Hunter Biden was specifically teaching at the time, and got it precisely very near the exact spot where Hunter Biden was identified. So it was a pretty ridiculous excuse. Shortly thereafter, his whole marriage broke up. And I do know for a fact that Hunter Biden was thrown out by his wife after that story. And, then he went on a pretty big years-long binge. And America's still experiencing that. Now, I tried to do everything I possibly could during the election to make sure that Trump kept control of the White House. But conservative media didn't really want to help me out. After I reported the Ashley Biden diary, conservative media seemed mostly in the professional conservative media, it seemed like they wanted Joe Biden to win. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Back to Marjorie Taylor Greene. So she's a McCarthy shill, and I don't care for it. I was very disappointed by that. Here is a rap video that she made with someone who we've interviewed, Forgiato Blow, nice guy, rapper, but this is just cringe, man. This is cringe. I gotta say, I call it as I say it. It's cringe.
Sexualizing having transgender surgeries, sexualizing children is what pedophiles do to children.
MTG, Mega's MVP. MTG, Mega's MVP. MTG, Mega's MVP. MTG, Mega's MVP. Democrats get back, boom. Reporters even get slapped. They're spreading all these rumors cause Marjorie be spitting big facts. Deep state and the left always hating. When they gonna let Joe about that basement? Marjorie, I really love what you do.
Whose idea was this?
No one does it better than you, huh? A real businesswoman, AOC's a featherweight. A Southern belle, a little hood, watch her shake and bake. Divorce, that's all y'all gotta bring up. Yeah, watch her drain the swamp, cause she know they corrupt. She's fighting for our children, she's fighting for our freedom. She's fighting for the Jan 6, she's fighting good versus evil. MTG, Mega's MVP. MTG.
All right, enough. I can't.
MTG.
I'm glad. If it had gone on, my face would have been stuck in a permanent cringe. And I would do the show like this. All right. Well, that wasn't the best. We like Forgiato Blow, though. Nice guy. Non-binary or non-black? Does NB mean non-binary or non-black? This ridiculous person's going to explain.
I'm non-binary, and this is why I use this abbreviation and not this one. ENBY, or NB, is actually a phonetic pronunciation of NB for non-binary. So then why don't I just use NB? Because NB originated from the black community to mean non-black. It predates the term non-binary. Because I'm white and because the black community has asked us not to use it. So I'm going to listen and respect that. It's that simple.
Well, okay. Did she checked in with the black community? The black community has asked her not to use that. Really? I know a lot of black people. I can't think of any of the black people I know, calling her to a meeting or something and being like, excuse me, on behalf of all African Americans, please stop using the term NB to mean non-binary. Like, I don't really think that happens. But, you see then the non-binary movement is, lower on the totem pole than the black movement, is it? What do you think? What do you think the rankings are over there on the oppressed woke side? Because LGBT is really surging recently. Like, they're really going hard on the LGBT. But I still don't think the LGBT... I mean, all right, obviously, Israel number one is... Okay. Israel, they're the perpetual victims and the wars they start against their neighbors. They're, we need help starting more wars against all of our neighbors. By the way, they've recently been and continue to be not only at war against the Palestinians, but also at war against the Syrians. And there's all kinds of war that Israel's whipping up right now. So Israel number one in the oppressed Olympics and the oppression rankings. And then number two, you got I think black. I think black goes number two over there on that side. There's just a lot of black. You've got a black Little Mermaid now. You've got a black Spider-Man. I'm looking forward to an all black Little House on the Prairie. They're inserting black people into like historical Netflix films and stuff. It's just Johnny Cash, played by Anthony Mackie. So there you have it. Oh, meanwhile, we know there's UFOs. And by the way, we do know there's UFOs. And there's been tons of sightings and all kinds of people have seen UFOs. And we've talked about it a lot on the show. But I don't trust the creepy Joe White House to tell me the truth about UFOs. No, I do not. And here's White House stooge John Kirby talking about UFOs.
Some of these phenomena, we know, have already had an impact on our training ranges. For when pilots are out trying to do training in the air, and they see these things, they're not sure what they are, and it can have an impact on their ability to perfect their skills. So it already had an impact here, and we just want to better understand it. Now, we're not saying what they are or what they're not. We're saying that there's something our pilots are seeing. We're saying it has had an effect on some of our training operations, and so we want to get to the bottom of it. We want to understand it better. So, yes.
I want to know the truth about whether or not Eisenhower met with the aliens in the 50s. That's one of the theories that's out there. And by the way, is there a UFO base under Antarctica? I don't know, man. There's a lot of questions. But if anybody's going to be in office while disclosure happens, I certainly don't want it to be Creepy Joe. I do not want it to be Creepy Joe. And it's kind of, in Hollywood, they've always psyoped the idea that UFOs, flying saucers, are aliens. And like an Independence Day, the whole world has to come together to fight the aliens. Now, that could be something called Project Bluebeam, which we know about, which is a U.S. government effort, a plan that hasn't gone through yet, but they've been planning on it to fake an alien invasion in order to form a one world government, worldwide martial law, the whole shebang that we're trying to fight against here. So we have to be very, very, very careful when we talk about aliens. On the one hand, I'm going to say there are UFOs, there are flying saucers. Why? Because I've seen tons of videos of them, and also I've seen them outside of a military base. And so have tons of people who I know. That said, we don't know what they are at this point in time. The U.S. government, I believe, does know what they are. They're not telling us. And, frankly, if the aliens are, benevolent to us, are they going to liberate us from these leaders that we have? Are the aliens part of the New World Order, or are the aliens going to liberate us anyway? We don't even know if there are aliens. We know there are UFOs, but the UFOs could be super powerful military technology. Anyway, we're going to talk a lot more about UFOs on the show, so, feel free to share your UFO comments, sightings, experiences. We're going to get to the bottom of this, but we got to be careful so they don't Project Bluebeam us, so they don't have little ET green guys coming out going, it is time for the entire world to reject white male privilege, reject white supremacy, and embrace Demi Lovato's chosen pronouns. I'd be like, I don't know, doubt. But then again, aliens could be real. But maybe they'll be against the globalists. Probably not, though. We'll have to see. There's some great alien movies out there, by the way. I think that my favorite, of course, by far, is the movie They Live, which inspired the classic meme that you see on Gab a lot of the sunglasses. In the movie, Rowdy Roddy Piper, the professional wrestler, is able to put on sunglasses and see the real world around him. He could see the billboards, what it really means, obey, and how they control the population. They Live, such a good movie. You have to see it. It's literally my favorite movie of all time. And what really gets me amped up and positive and in a good mood? When I see Justin Trudeau getting booed at an American Indigenous Peoples Conference. Well, Democrat Mark Pocan and Republican Andy Harris got into a little tiff on the floor of Congress today, but the clip's kind of boring and long. But they were fighting because Andy Harris, doesn't want money going to some LGBT organizations that promote the gender transitions for the kids, and then Mark Pocan, the Democrat, called him a bigot, and then the thing went into recess. So Congress being clownish and ridiculous, as always. I mean, we've come to expect that from them. I don't think anyone out there in America is like, who is going to solve this problem? We have a major national crisis. Who's going to... I know. Congress. Who can we always rely on? Congress. We cannot. And aside from Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert and a few others in the Freedom Caucus, I can't think of anybody in Congress who's on our side. And I said we certainly don't have the White House. So hopefully we get the White House back. And President Donald Trump massively leading in the Republican polls. The deep state thinks they can take him down through criminal prosecution. He can run for president from prison. He can pardon himself. He's running on a peace deal to get a peace deal in under 24 hours between Ukraine and Russia. And he has a very real chance of winning, especially after Biden. More middle of the road people are like, let's get Trump back in here. Good God, we're going to get nuked. On the Democrat side, you have the surging challenger, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. taking on Joe Biden and just embarrassing him, just running him around the track. Kennedy surging in the polls. He's anti-vaccine. He's a truther. He's been, leading the way on that issue for so long. I was very concerned that he might be a gun-grabbing Democrat, but he made it very clear in a statement that he's a constitutional maximalist. He's not going to take people's guns away. Obviously, we need to hold him accountable because I've heard politicians say that before. All politicians need to be held accountable. But based on the policies that this guy is putting out there, he's saying some very interesting things and people are really responding to it. So I know Tucker said that he's hoping Trump wins in the Republican primary and RFK Jr. wins in the Democrat primary. And could you imagine that general election? You know what that general election would be good for? It would be good for the campaign show. It would be good for our ratings. That would be really something. But the campaign's already underway. We are going to sell you a gun holster that is very comfortable. Okay, Vanish gun holsters. And Aaron, do we have our commercial for Vanish gun holsters? All right, let's take a look. I want you to help me out. Times are tough, but if you need a gun holster, we're going to give you a very big discount. Let's take a look. This problem with uncomfortable holsters. If you have an uncomfortable holster and you don't use it, then your quest to defend yourself or others fails right out of the gate. That's why Vanish holsters are quickly becoming one of the most popular holsters in America. Thousands of customers say that it's the most comfortable holster ever, and when you get one, you'll never stop carrying. This holster also saves you money. That's because it fits 99% of all semi-auto handguns, works without a tactical belt, lets you carry in multiple positions, and it carries 2 fully loaded magazines. And best of all is that because you're a viewer of the campaign show, you can get it for $50 off. Just go to vnsh.com/Patrick to see if your gun will work with it and to activate your discount today. It's normally $130. Since you watch the campaign show, you will get a $50 discount at vnsh.com/Patrick. Let's go. I'm back. My previous sponsor a long time ago, we won't mention them, I think didn't care for some of my more incendiary comments on this show, but who cares? I don't even remember the name of that company. I do, but I'm just pretending. Doing a little bit here. Vanish holsters, baby. Vanish holsters. Let's go. If you love me, then you love Vanish holsters. The campaign show has been a dream of mine to do. I started the show in 2019 on Patriot Soapbox, and it has, you can watch it on band.video, which of course is the great Alex Jones's website. Here's what I want you to do right now, because today is the last day of voting. So this is very important to all of my fans and all of my supporters. It's very important. I'm in a tight race for the American Liberty Awards. I'm nominated in 2 categories. National File is nominated for Most Trusted Print Media, and I am nominated for Most Truthful Writer. If I win in either one of those categories, then I will be giving an acceptance speech next month at the award ceremony in Austin, Texas, where Alex Jones will be, where Bryson Gray will be, and where many of the very famous nominees for this award will also be. And I am hoping to give that acceptance speech. I think it would be great for this show, and I think it would be a really good opportunity, frankly, for me, honestly. So if you want to help me out, this is last day of voting. Go to AmericanLibertyAwards.com. and vote for me, Most Truthful Writer, and vote for National File. AmericanLibertyAwards.com. Thank you so much to everybody who watches the show. You bring so much joy to my life, and it really means a lot to me. And through it all, I assure you, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here every single day at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless we're having a little problem making the trains run on time. It'll be up at least by 6, but usually every day we hit 5 p.m. on Twitter, on cozy.tv, and we love being here. So thank you so much, and come back tomorrow.